both sides. So when you have these problems in your homework that say, ooh, I need to identify these as either a conditional, contradiction, or an identity, there is no way to know just looking at the equation. You just have to try to solve it and see what happens. That's how you're going to find out whether it's a conditional, contradiction, or an identity. So let's try this first one. Let's take a look at A. In A, we have 3 times the sum of x plus 2 equals 5x plus 6 minus 2x. So the first thing you do is hopefully notice that there are parentheses here. That's always going to be our first thing to deal with because it's at the top of the order of operations. So we'll multiply out that 3, we'll distribute, which will get us a 3x plus the 3 times 2 will get us a 6. And let's leave everything alone for right now on the on the right hand side. Now what? After you distribute, there are some like terms on the right hand side. There's a 5x and a minus 2x that can be combined because they're on the same side. Well, the 5x minus the 2x would also give us a 3x. We also have a plus 6. And the other side, we already had a 3x plus 6. Well, remember when both sides are the same, we're saying something's equal to itself. That is going to be always true. What special case is always true? Meaning anything you plug in for x will work. That's when we have our identity. That's our answer for A. Now let's take a look at B. In B, we have 4 times the difference of x and 9 equals 8 times the sum of x and 3. So what should be our first thought in order to try and solve this is to distribute. So we'll distribute the 4 first. Multiplying out the 4 gets us 4x minus 36 on the left-hand side equals, on the right-hand side, we have to do some more distributing. We have to distribute an 8, which will get us 8x plus 24. Next step is I've got x's on both sides. I need to get the x's on the same side, so we'll move the smaller of the two. We'll move the 4x by subtracting a 4x from both sides. That will move it from the left to the right. Well, that gets me an 8x minus 4x is a 4x. I still have my positive 24 on the right, and be careful on the left, that is a negative 36. See that? Negative 36. Okay, now I need to get the x by itself. Keep working on it. Well, next I need to move the 24 by subtracting a 24 from both sides. That'll move my 24. And that gets me a 4x on the right-hand side and a negative 60 on the left-hand side. So let's see. Last step, we'll divide both sides by a 4. And that will get me x equals negative 15. So the question is, what kind of answer is this? Well, what this means is that x is only true, or this equation is only true if x equals negative 15. Well, that means it's only true for some values. It's only true for this one, negative 15. And that was our other kind of equation that was called conditional. It's only true on the condition that x equals negative 15. Let's take a look at our last one here at C. On C, we have negative 5x plus 7 equals 3 minus 9x plus 4x. The first thing that we can do on C is combine our like terms. We actually do have a negative 9x and a positive 4x on the right-hand side. because they're on the same side of the equation, they can go ahead and add and subtract normally. So we have a negative 9x added to a positive 4x, which will give us a negative 5x. If you didn't know what was going on at this point, I would say, okay, well, let's try and get the x's on the same side. So we've got a negative 5x. Let's add a 5x to both sides. And what I'd say is, okay, let's see what happens. Is notice the x's cancel out on the left-hand side, but they also cancel out on the right-hand side. And let's see what's left. On the left-hand side, we still have our 7, and on the right-hand side, we still have our 3. Problem. 7 is never going to equal 3. So this equation is never going to be true for any values. That means that there are going to be no solutions. Well, there's only one type of equation that has no solutions, and that's called a contradiction. And that's it. That's our final answer.